Hello, everyone. We, as in I, should be live. Just let me know if you can see and hear me okay. Bit of an anticlimax. Totally thought I was going um, live on TikTok, only to press, psych myself up, press the live button, and realize that I needed to verify my age. So there we go. Yeah, I know, Jake. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, just sort of, and there's nothing I can really do on TikTok to say that. I'm just going to get into the comments. So, hi, Caitlin. Good to see you. Hi, Mark, Russ. Thank God for Facebook. I've been like proper slagging Facebook off. At least I don't need to watch my P's and Q's so much now because I was a bit worried on TikTok because if you say something that's a violation, I've been looking into it. They will just like cut your feed dead, and that's it. You won't let you carry on. Hi, Lewis. Good to see you. Oh, just dropped my phone. Hi, Cornell. Yeah, I know, Claire, right? Absolutely. It's clearly I've got such a baby face. So they're very much like, you obviously look way too young to be going live on TikTok. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. TikTok's a whole new world for me, and I am enjoying it. There's no doubt about it. But God, give me Amazon Seller Central any day of the week over TikTok support. They are horrendous. They are absolute. They don't even answer half the time. They don't even. They literally don't even answer half the questions that I send them, which I don't send them a lot. But I got a random violation for a video today about something random about being dangerous or something like that. I mean, I am pretty dangerous, but not in that respect. But yeah, just an odd. It's an odd platform. I mean, I'm looking forward to really exploring it from a sales point of view in 2025. But yeah, it's a frustrating platform. There's no doubt about it. Sorry, Cindy. I know TikTok are flirting. Oh, they totally are. They were trying to slide into my DMs for sure. So sorry, Cindy. I feel like a massive letdown. And it was one of those things I psyched myself up because it's different, right? I've been doing, you guys that have been with me for a long time, I've been doing this for years. Going live stuff, live teaching, live whatever, it doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. But when you do something new, when it pushes you outside of that comfort zone, then it can be a little bit disconcerting. So I'd really like psyched myself up for it. I pressed live, and straight away it was like, you're not old enough. And I was like, fine, okay. Yeah. Russ, absolutely. The violations are random and they make no sense, and the appeals are pointless. I completely agree. Although my competitive nature and wanting to see justice prevail does make me follow through with the appeals every single time. And I sit there and I refresh. And I think I've learned by now, if you don't get the appeal, in your favor immediately, then you're just not going to get an appeal at all. So, it's just not going to go your way. I've had one appeal, I think not on my daughter's account, but on this buybox account. They've just ignored. They just haven't even looked at it in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it is it's a massive learning curve, TikTok. From the outset, from a consumer point of view, it's such a simplistic platform. But once you dive deep, once you look, lift the curtain, there's definitely a lot more to it. So I'm looking forward to discovering that over the next 12 months anyway. So this is a bit of a random one. I was using today it's funny how things work. I thought, right, I'll go live on TikTok because there isn't anything to talk about in the world of bundling because there's been no updates. So I went through and looked at my diary yesterday and thought, I know, I'll just swap it out for the standard Beyond the Buy box thing because there's nothing to talk about. And I'll end up going on TikTok and, just updating everyone to say nothing's really changed. I checked on all the bundle policies and I'd gone through all of it, just to check if anything had changed. Tucked myself into bed last night, snoozed off to, snoozy land, and then woke up this morning, checked on the news, and the first thing I saw, big bundle policy update. So I'd already said that I was going to go live on TikTok at that point. So I'd certainly not planned on giving a major update on TikTok. It just so happened that's what it was. So obviously we've had this update. And with regards, and we've been left in the dark for a really long time. So I just do a recap for anyone that doesn't know. On October the 14th, Amazon, we kind of started a bit before that. Sometime in June, there was a big wave of deactivations in the US market for people who were bundling or, and I'm not talking about what type of bundling they do. As far as I can tell, the people that were affected, which was extensive, there was a lot of people that was affected. The people that were affected, doing various different types of bundling. Some people were doing it what we perceived to be right. This is what we saw. Some people not so much. So, but there was no rhyme and reason as to why some sellers were impacted and being deactivated and some weren't, and why people were having, there was upwards of 20, $50 million sellers that were deactivated, in this wave of deactivation without any kind of explanation as to what they'd done wrong. Apart from violating the bundle policy. So they went through and that just kind of happened. And then, of course, there was all this big fear about what's happening with bundlings. Why have people been impacted in the way that they have? We didn't really have any answers for that. And that went on for a good couple of months. And all these poor people have been deactivated, lives ruined overnight, pointlessly ruined overnight. And they went through that process, and we were aware that change was afoot. Amazon generally aren't reactive. It's generally when you see something like that, it's because there's a policy change inbound or something's going to change. So that's what we saw essentially, and it was a worrying time. Then fast forward a couple of months later, and we had heard during that period of time that there were some people that got reinstated, some people didn't get reinstated.
The Hive is a group of online sellers. We specialize in Amazon. We're a network, we're a community, and we're all about bringing success to everybody through expert content and resources that you just can't get anywhere else.
The Hive has SOPs, documentation, short videos, clips, long form videos, over the shoulder videos. It has everything you need.
Both for beginners and advanced sellers.
I mean, I probably thought that I knew quite a lot about the selling on Amazon in general, but then when I joined the Hive, it was almost like I only knew 10%.
We keep everything so up to date knowledge, up-to-date strategies.
Natalie, Matt and Johnny will just explain how it works in normal English.
The best part of being in the Hive is a community.
Any question you have, you can put it in the Hive.
And you can get just problem solved so fast.
You can ask a question, there's an answer there within 5 minutes.
We are confident that you are receiving the best level of content out of any training and resource group in the world.
So this week, there's actually been quite, not official updates, but hearing things on the grapevine, talking to other sellers, being part of other groups. This is why I love Amazon communities. It's so useful to have this kind of insight into, different conversations in particular. There have been a few things that have been going on, which I wanted to talk about in the update today anyway, subject to this new update not happening, which has surprised us. So fast forward to October the 14th, that's when we got the news dropping in the US market. So let me make it still clear that the US market, we still no update in the UK. So for the next person that sort of says, does this affect the UK? As it stands, there's still nothing, and there is no bundle policy that exists in the UK. You saw from my post yesterday, it just simply does not exist. The async creation policy exists, but it doesn't specifically talk about bundling. Now, I'll cover this point first of all, actually. So for me, from my point of view, just to make it absolutely clear, do I think these changes are going to come to the UK? Yes. Because, and this is purely based on, bundling is such a big part of the Amazon catalog, and there are thousands of sellers doing it that I do not believe Amazon will not update the bundle policy for the UK. Will it be the same? That's a different question. But I do not believe that they will leave something so big and expansive on Amazon with no clear policy and no direction. So for that very reason, and that's what it is at the moment. So technically, if Amazon were to come to me and deactivate my policy based on policy bundle violation, well, I'm sorry, my argument back to Amazon, it would fall on deaf ears, of course. But my argument technically back, well, there is no bundle policy. So how can I be in violation of that bundle policy? You know, that's the argument. And if they were a reasonable company that is run on reason, that's absolutely something that you could argue. But we know that's not the case, so we don't bother with that. So from that point of view, it's something that when this came into place in the US, we had to take it as a lead, as what was going to happen, in my opinion, inevitably in the UK. So October 14th rolls around and this new bundle policy update comes out, and it's confusing. It is confusing. There are parts that contradict each other, and it makes sense. I mean, I've been doing bundling, I've been teaching bundling for 6-7 years, and it didn't make sense to me, and it didn't make sense to other people that have been doing it for as long as I have, possibly even longer. There was a lack of clarity in certain areas where one part of the new policy or the update to the policy directly contradicted the others. And we talked about this extensively in the Hive, and we've got our way forward in the Hive, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing anyway. And this kind of doesn't really change it, because we've planned for this. This is what we anticipated would happen. So there's no big real surprises here, other than for us to, have a bit more clarity, which I'm really grateful for. So Lewis says, I don't believe Amazon have listened to us. I would be inclined to agree, but it's not often Amazon come out and say, oh, certainly use the A word. The A word, apologize, was used in there. That's quite rare. So the fact that they have done that, and a few other things that have come into place as well. So whilst I can't speak for all, and I know all are not affected, as I understand it, the majority of people that got deactivated back in June because of bundle policy violations have been reinstated. That's what I understand it, or a large percentage, because I won't go into all the different reasons, but I think lawsuits started to get involved and things like that. So it's just one of those things that it just is what it is, essentially. So I think Amazon, they messed up. They dropped the ball. There's no doubt. Well, messed up is an understatement, considering you've got a $20 million business that just employs 15 people and stops overnight. Dropping the ball is a little bit of an understatement. But I'm not going to go into too much more detail regarding that. That's been and gone, and it is what it is. We've got further clarification now. So looking at all of it on that side of it, I was getting more and more confident. We've been in this kind of place of negativity. Which, by the way, I'm going to say, I actually really do believe this is not just to do with bundles. I think there is a general feeling of negativity about Amazon in the marketplace at the moment. It just feels like it's a big old slog, and I get that. And normally that's alleviated during Q4, but because there's so much uncertainty, because they are, the ban hammer is being waved intensively at the moment. This feels like one of the most negative spaces, certainly since I've been around and involved on Amazon, since I've been doing it. It feels like the market is very, very negative. And I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that from a negative point of view. I completely understand why. It feels very risky. We've talked about it previously, ebbs and flows, risk on Amazon. And we definitely feel like we're in a risky place on Amazon across all the marketplace, but particularly in the US. The US feels very risky at the moment. There's no doubt about it. Russ says, do you think Amazon will ever change how it treats third-party sellers? Will increasing competition force them to be, for want of a better word, fairer? Great question. No. I think Amazon have got the foothold of the marketplace for at least the next 10 years, regardless of what happens on TikTok, regardless of what happens in Temu. Their Amazon Haul, which was supposed to be a rival to Temu and Shein and all of those kind of things, I think has sort of launched with a bit of a limp. I don't think it's received the adulation that they were expecting. So, failure is a strong word. Who knows? It could be a grower for sure. But I think with what's happening in the States, in the US, and obviously who's the new president-elect, let's not get political, guys. I'm not going there. We went down that rabbit hole a few weeks ago. I believe it now has shifted to support Amazon more than it had previously, because, it's the ethos of the president-elect is going to be about supporting American business and everything like that. So, and removing potentially some of foreign interest business. So whilst that is in play, I think competition will grow. This time in 10 years time, I don't believe they'll have a bigger market share as they've got now, but they've got such a big head start, Russ. It's really impossible for anyone to catch Amazon quickly. TikTok was the big one that really that was a good live. Sorry, Emma. Yeah, you found us. Thank you. But yeah, they've got such a big head start, such an audience, such a stronghold on the audience. I don't think things will change that much, too much. But there is something big happening in the US as well. I will come back onto the bundle policy. So there is something that is being debated at the moment in the US. I saw this in another group, and I can't remember which group it is, which is about treating third-party sellers more fairer in terms of deactivation. It's about forcing Amazon to give more clarity on deactivation as to why they have been deactivated, and also about the withholding of funds. So that's something that's going on in the US at the moment. But again, just because they do it in the US on that side of things doesn't necessarily mean it will come over here. And those cogs move pretty slowly. It might be different with the new president-elect coming in, because that person is known for getting things done, kind of quicker because of the type of person he is. So who knows? But we will wait and see what happens with regards to if they treat third-party sellers fairer. I don't, over the years, see, it's really weird for me. You guys come in, maybe in the last couple of years have start selling, and it feels like things are pretty tough now. But actually, there are so many things that were a lot tougher. It was in the good old days of selling on Amazon. So things have actually got better for sellers in certain respects, and things have got worse in other respects. So it's a little bit of a balance. If you're someone that's been selling for more than 5 or 6 years, then you're probably a bit resilient to it all, to be perfectly honest, because there's been so many changes over the years, and sometimes when it favors sellers, sometimes when it favors Amazon. So there are certain circumstances, like the account health assurance now. Before, when we first started selling, you get one strike and you're out. That's it. There was no you need to fix this. There was no potentially taking a quiz. I know you were talking about quiz from a TikTok point of view, but there was no accepting a violation. There was no, none of this. There was no warnings, essentially. It was out. You were done, but on the flip side, and suspensions, deactivations generally do get resolved a bit quicker now than they used to. There used to be a time, believe it or not, on Amazon, if you changed your telephone number, you could go into a suspension for 6 weeks. So people would be like, oh my God, don't make any changes in Q4, because you'd have to go back into a manual verification. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts for sure. Yeah, you've got to roll with the punches with Amazon. So, you know, being in this kind of negative space, that's what I was talking about. And I get it. I totally get it. And I was talking about this with someone last night. And what I would like to now see, especially after today's, and I was going to talk about this in the Hive tonight anyway. What I want to now see is we've been, it feels like, certainly from my point of view, for the last, probably since the summer, it feels like we've all been in quite a reactive position with Amazon. We're just reacting. We're waiting to see. It's like your move, sir. We're waiting to see what they are going to do next. And that's not a good place to be. You know, I talk about it from a personal point of view. I've personally been in that space with everything that's happening with my daughter. And it gets to a certain point where you hit a certain peak of reactiveness, where you've got to shift the balance and you've got to say, right, we can't be in a reactive state anymore. It's important to look at everything on balance and say, right, we have to wait for more information. But you can't live like that forever in any aspect in life. We have to change that shift from reactive to proactive. And today, I mean, I'd already made this decision. You can ask the person that I spoke to last night, because this is exactly what I said to them without knowing this update. And this is exactly what was going to be said in the Hive tonight. Enough's enough. You know, we've waited long enough now. We have to shift from being reactive to proactive, which is start of, you know, what we'd started to do anyway. So I'm really pleased that today there's been some further clarification. Again, it doesn't clarify everything, but it does clarify, and certainly not for the UK, but it does give us a little bit more confidence in the plan that we have, certainly in the Hive moving forward, is the right plan to be following. So today, what has the update been? Well, firstly, they've come out and they have said, we're sorry. We're sorry we confused you, let alone we're sorry we suspended and ruined people's businesses for like $20 million. But we're sorry that there was confusion, and we've taken it on board and we've looked into everything. And, you know, we've come out the other side and we've written 6 lines that is going to change your life. That's what it feels like a little bit. Hate to sound a bit skeptical, but there we are. So let me just quickly read the update for anyone that hasn't seen it. It says, we announced updates to the product bundling policy for consumables. So for me, the first part of this was consumables, and they have clarified that in a bit more detail, which is definitely something that they needed to do, because consumables is a word on Amazon that, and in the world of ecom, that can mean a couple of different things. So they have clarified it, and what they've said is across the categories that they'd originally said, but they've further expanded on that. If you go into the product policy, the bundling policy, they've essentially said that they are looking at consumable products or anything that's likely to be ingested, applied to the skin, or used by vulnerable populations. I think Amazon sellers are vulnerable after selling on Amazon, to be perfectly honest, but vulnerable populations such as children and pets. So that is anything ingested, i.e. eaten, or applied to the skin, topical. So those are what we consider to be consumable products nowadays in the world of Amazon. I've already had one person message me and say, well, okay, so does that mean if your product is in grocery or in health and personal care or luxury beauty or pet, and it's not a consumable, i.e. something that can be ingested or applied to the skin, does that mean the bundling policy does not apply to me? Yes. That is my interpretation of it. That's how I read that as. So if I have created a, just trying to think, where's my handy items when I need them? If I have created, what would it be in grocery? I'm just trying to think. I don't want to out anyone's products either. So if I have created a dishwasher sponge set, a dishwasher sponge bundle with a with a cloth and it's in grocery, that's now no longer classed as a consumable bundle because it's not ingested. Yes, it could be applied to the skin technically, but not in the way that they've said it. So as far as I'm concerned, that would not be part of the bundling policy. That's how I understand it anyway. So consumables, we've got a clearer definition on that. And then it goes on to say your products, our feedback, we heard your feedback and the policy lacked clarity, making it difficult to understand and how it impacts your business. We apologize for the confusion this may have caused, and we appreciate you providing feedback to help us improve. So based on your input, and they go on to say all bundles must be product configuration. So again, this is consumables packaged by the original manufacturer and brand. So that hasn't changed. For example, you can list a bundle that is dish spray and dish spray refills, which was originally packaged by Dawn. Hashtag Fairy Liquid if you're in the UK. However, you cannot list a bundle of dish spray, Dawn dish spray, the refills that you have repackaged. You cannot also create your own bundle containing those products and gloves and a sponge. So the definition of what was a unique bundle, you cannot no longer do that. In the consumable categories under the categories that they have stated. Okay, so we kind of knew that was relatively clear, but what wasn't clear, what they clarified was could you mix different products by the same brand or different brands? So that's been clarified. It must be the same brand, but you can have different products from the same brand. So that has been clarified. So there is no route for taking two well-known branded products and bundling them with your own branded products under your own brand in those categories. Secondly, products must be may be reconfigured. So what they're talking about reconfigured is taken out of packaging and put in well, not packaging, they're essentially they're using the word reconfigured or configured, which relates to the brand in which they are sold under. So configured, reconfigured for me is determined by the brand. So from that point of view, you cannot create those type of products under your own brand, but you may create them under the brand with a letter of authorization. So this is the most ambiguous for me still personally. So a letter of authorization from the brand owner, they're saying if I get a letter from Fairy Liquid, I can list those type of products under the Fairy Liquid brand. Now, I hate to be the naysayer. I have quite a lot of experience in listing products and knowing the ins and outs of what goes into listing products on Amazon. And even though it states it, I still don't believe that will be possible with a letter of authorization only. I believe that you have to be added into the brand's brand registry to be able to do it. Purely because of the monster bot system that is in place on Amazon. So I do not believe it will be that simple with a letter of authorization. I think there is going to be extra frustrations that are going to come from that, but we shall wait and see. Who knows? I'm always happy to be proven wrong when it comes to Amazon and their policy for sure. So all products in a bundle must belong to the same brand, and the bundle must be branded with the same brand as the products. Okay, so what it's saying is, yeah, you can create new listings on Amazon for something that doesn't already exist if they're convenient and they're complementary. Absolutely. And you can do it under the correct brand, which is what we've been crying out for. This is the reason why so many people abuse the system, because you didn't do it, but you need a letter of authorization. But again, I think there's going to be some extra stumbling blocks with regards to that. I just don't understand why they don't create a brand as it used to be that said multiple and you could list it under that. I've never understood that, Amazon. If you're listening, which I doubt they are, please change that. It's a super easy change to make, and it will mean that the catalog's not full of shitty bundles, to be perfectly honest. So that's done. That is no longer possible. So then the third part and clarification was gift listed items within the gift basket category may contain products from multiple brands. So you can mix and match multiple brands that are physically bundled together for customers in a manner of suitable gifting. Okay, so immediately when I read this, I literally laughed because the thought was of somebody getting some fairy liquid and some gloves in like a boxed packaged for gifting, which is what will happen. There's no doubt about it. That's absolutely what will happen. I will not be teaching that, by the way. That will not form any part of the new bundle course. But I've got no doubts there will be people that absolutely, abuse that. But Amazon do actually, I will say, they do actually make a further caveat in the bundle policy where they go on to clarify that a little bit more. But you know what it is? Amazon can't physically police every single part of the Amazon catalog. So in the broadest terms, one thing that we were confused about, and again, I've been through it a lot of times in the Hive where it just didn't make sense to me that they would get rid of gift hampers or, products that are sold under that kind of, umbrella. Because, there was one session, if you guys remember in the Hive, we went through it and we added up like 10 listings and it was millions of pounds worth of sales to Amazon. And, it just didn't make sense that they was going to get rid of those. Don't get me wrong. Not all of those are going to survive. This is why there's such an amazing opportunity, because some of those are still configured in the wrong way. And so there is going to be a huge amount of opportunity for Amazon on this moving forward. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And then the final thing that they go on to say is effectively immediately, all new consumable bundles must comply with the updated policy. So what they're saying is if you are listing a new bundle from today, you must comply with this. If you already have listings, they will not be affected until January the 1st, and enforced is the word that they use. So January the 1st. So what it is essentially saying is if you think you've got bundles, US policy only, guys, I will re-clarify this, that you will be enforcing this from January the 1st. So to me, that reads at just don't restock. If you sell out in this period of time and you're a US seller and you think that you are in violation of the policy, do not restock. Now, what I will say is one thing is I'm pretty confident about famous last words. I feel quite confident in saying this. I think when the policy is enforced, it will be enforced via account health on the dashboard, and it will be done in a way that your policy listings are at risk of deactivation as opposed to actual violations. And I think if you don't delete or remove in that period, you will get a violation. But I do not believe, knock on wood, that there will be deactivations unless people are repeatedly violating it after the 1st of January. That's my own personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts if that's the case. And again, this is US market only. So, this is US market. So I can't even give that advice for the UK. So, the standard advice continues. Don't carry any more than 30 days stock on what you are already doing. But of course, things like, if you want to continue bundling moving forward, I suggest joining the Hive. This isn't a sales call, but joining the Hive to ensure that you have the most up-to-date information to know what you're doing. You are doing correctly moving forward. That is absolutely my best advice when it comes to that. And I don't talk about bundles too much more outside of the Hive. The Hive is where we talk about bundles. It's as simple as that. We do that out of respect to the people that pay for that information to have that. But, you know, a general public update like this, I think, you know, that this is information for everyone. Lewis says, surely that takes away the unique protection of your listing, so people can see your bundle is selling well and hop on the listing. So is it even worth it now? Yeah, absolutely. So that's exactly what it does. It does take away the unique element. You've got to remember, Lewis, the reason why it's been taken away is because so many people have abused it. That's why it's been taken away. I don't believe it would have been taken away. Because I don't believe Amazon cares, to be perfectly honest, you know, about this. They've got a lot of flack over this, so they've come out with a slightly different position, as in the same. The reason they're doing this is nothing to do with the IP. It's nothing to do with, you know, filling up the catalog with loads of duplicates. They've now said it as it's a safety point of view. That's the reason why we're doing it. It's for the safety of the customers, because we can't verify if the products are being handled correctly, if they are not handled directly by the brand. That's what they've come out and said. So they've used that as the new reasoning for why they've done this. Because, you know, as far as Amazon don't care. You know, they've openly come out and said, you know, previously in the past, Birkenstocks was a perfect example of this, when Birkenstocks publicly said to their resellers, to their authorized supply chain, if we find out you're selling on Amazon, we'll cut you off. Whereas Amazon then publicly responded and says, nobody tells us what to do. You know, we have freedom to be able to sell whatever we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy as many Birkenstocks as we can and sell them on our market, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, and so they don't care. This is all of the people that are screaming and shouting about this and saying, oh, Amazon care about this. They don't. They care about sales, and they care about customers, and they care about bottom line, and they care about market share. They do not, and they care about dominance. That's what they care about. They do not care if Cadbury's dairy milk chocolate bar is being sold under Natalie's bundle creations. They don't care, you know, to be perfectly honest. So the reason why it's been removed is because, you know, so many people abuse the system and started issuing IP claims and doing this and doing that. And it just, you know, all in the words of Ron Burgundy, it all escalated really quickly, you know, and that's what happened. So they had to make a point of clarification. Second part of the question, is it worth it? Absolutely. The amount of opportunity that this is going to bring to the marketplace is unbelievable. So bundling is not dead, to contrary to the naysayers and the people that, you know, rubbed their hands with glee when this update came out. We were always going to find a different way. We were always going to find a different route. And even I was surprised to see what routes this uncovered, and you know, what opportunity it uncovered to be able to continue to do this moving forward. Now, what I'll always say is Amazon's a, you know, it's a marketplace that is fraught with risk. It's as simple as that. There is no doubt about it. You can do everything right. You can follow the book, and they can still chuck a deactivation in your face. So for me, it's never really about, is it worth it? Is the opportunity there? Is the opportunity not there? It's about, can you handle selling on Amazon? Are you aware of the risks? And is that risk worth the reward for you? For me, that's the question more than anything else, because no one can say whether it's worth it or not. There's only one way to find out, and that's to do it, and that's to live it, and see if it's worth it for you. You know, there's a lot of hoo-ha in the moment. At the moment, a lot of people quit in the US market because it's too risky, and I get it. I talked about it on the TikTok channel, where I talked about why I would never scale that business more than single 7 figures. I think it's pure madness to do that, because of all the different reasons why I talked about. And, you know, it's not a case of can or won't or whatever. It's, you know, sort of looking at it and saying it's an income stream. And that's my maximum level of risk. So I think that's what you need to look at. you know, more than anything else, because you don't know if you know, if it's going to be worth it until you try it and do it yourself, or you can just leave the space and never know. And then will you regret it at a later stage? Who knows? That's certainly the way that I look at it. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, Cindy said, so you'd have to be in their brand registry and have a letter of authorization. I think so. I can't see it working without, to be honest. Steve says never. They want to get rid of all their third-party sellers. I completely disagree. With respect, Steve, I think that there will always be a place for third-party sellers. Amazon is massively reducing their risk in terms of the amount that they sell themselves on Amazon. There's only one other way to do it, and that is working with brands direct and their third-party sellers. I do not believe Amazon will ever be a space that is dominated entirely by one of those three groups anymore. I believe it's going to be split between third-party sellers, brand direct, and Amazon themselves. And that's what Amazon is doing, is they're reducing their risk. They're de-risking. They're taking on a lot less themselves, and they're working with brands to, I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're trying to onboard as many brands as they can, because if they can get the brand on, if they can get Cadbury selling on there themselves and they don't have to buy the stock, they've de-risked. That's the smartest play for them. They've taken all of the risk out of selling Cadbury, and they've got nothing but the benefit of it, which is getting that 15.3% referral fee and the markup on the FBA fee as well. It's a really smart move by Amazon. But do I believe that they want to entirely get rid of everyone? No. But I think you're going to see more of an even split now. Whereas before, when I first started, it was like probably 65 in favor of Amazon third-party sellers. That gradually increased over the years to, I think a couple of years ago during COVID, it flipped in favor of third-party sellers. Whereas I think you're going to see a more even split across the board now between those three. Brand direct has entered the building, has entered the conversation. So that is a demographic. Amazon will never identify that as a specific demographic, but I believe you will see the rise of brand direct. You will see reduction of Amazon, and reduction of third-party sellers, but never getting rid of. I don't think. So Lewis said, don't think it's dead, but surely for a longer term business model, PL and brand partnership are the way to go. And unique bundles is and UB, I think that means UB, has moved towards RA and OA in terms of product lifetime. I actually think the most, in all of this, the most vulnerable model is arbitrage. Because one of the things that Amazon has made absolutely clear that they are going to be doing is cleaning up the product catalog. So for me, the most vulnerable position to be in is arbitrage in 2025 and beyond. I think that there will always be a space for arbitrage. I don't think it's dead. So you'll not hear me saying arbitrage is dead unless I'm trying to do something clickbaity, you know, putting it on a title. I don't think that will ever be the case. But even brand direct, we know through, it's not safe. It's not safe. And, you know, from what I was talking about earlier, even from a listing point of view, there's still going to be a lot of hoops to jump through. So I think, you know, a broad look on what you are selling in terms of, and this always flips. If you ask me at any point in a given year, what do I think is the best route and the best opportunity moving forward? I don't think it would have been the same answer, you know, year on year. It always changes. And this is what happens with Amazon. You know, the market shifts and favors certain things. You've just always got to be slightly ahead of it or on top of it. It's, you know, or in the right place for it. But nothing, I believe, and I can say with confidence, is going to change like overnight for people. Like we were in fear of, to be perfectly honest. We were in fear of that a couple of months ago. That I believe that if you are going to be impacted by this, I'm hoping that it will be an easing in and an easing out, and you will get the opportunity to be able to adapt. Do nothing, take no action, and that will leave you in a perilous position. So the first question for me, do I want to be here? Do I want to continue to sell on Amazon? Yes, I'm all right with the risks. I'm all right with this. I'm all right with that. I still want to be here. I'm happy to stay at the Amazon party. Great. Where are the opportunities? So do I want to look at this? Do I want to look at this? Do I want to look at this? And that's when you need to test the market and see what works for you. But those who are exclusively in arbitrage, you're going to see a lot of listings disappear overnight, and with no opportunity to replace them unless you have a letter of authority from a brand and the ability to be able to create that. But even when you do, as you've quite rightly identified, it will be, the opportunity for other people to list on that listing. Unless it is under your own brand, which we can't do, then there is no way of protecting a standard listing of other people's products moving forward. So that's the way we look at it in those categories and under that definition of consumable. So for me, that's what I'm excited about today. The fact that definition has been clarified of ingested or topically, because that leaves so much available to be able to. Now, I'm not saying lines won't be blurred, because, if you've got a kitchen spray and you're spraying that, could it be ingested? Technically, you could breathe in the fumes. Could it accidentally get sprayed on your skin? Of course, but we have to look at the wording. Applied to, intentionally. That's wording with intention. Ingested, intentional. So those are all the little things that we look at, and we move forward with hope, because without hope we don't have anything. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So it's about identifying, first of all, do I want to be here? Make that choice. If you do, then you look at the opportunity, and then you test the market and you see what works for you. There is so much opportunity. One of the things we're going to talk about in the Hive tonight, I'm going to show people what is possible this time of year. This time of year, even on Amazon, in a slightly downturn market, let's face it, some people are not seeing the peaks of yesteryear that we have previously seen. But there is still a lot that is available. And now with this clarification, it's always been this sort of weird sort of dark cloud that's been hanging over us. Yes, we still need to clarify it further for the UK. I could be proven wrong. It might never come to the UK. If that's the case, everyone just carry on as normal kind of thing. But this dark cloud has been kind of hanging over us for a long period of time. And it seems a little bit the clouds have started to part and a little bit of sun is shining through. Literally, you can see it shining through on my face. And for me, that is now something that we've been craving for a really long time, to take us out of this state of constant reactive fear, and shifting us more to being proactive, to know what we can build for the future in a sustainable way that's going to give us as much security as Amazon allows us, if that makes sense. Oh, hang on. Go on. Jake says most of my bundles are cleaning sprays with complementary item, i.e. spray, microcloth. So these won't count as consumable. To confirm, I have to leave individual interpretation up to you guys. And I've talked about this previously. I based my teachings on 3 different things, which are the past, my experience, what has gone before, the facts, what has been released today, the update of the bundle policy, and then my interpretation of those facts. So the two out of those 3 things that I base all of my teachings and everything that we've showed over 5-6 years, and had thousands of people taught and developed 6- and 7-figure businesses. 2 of those 3 things are my things, you know, my interpretation and my experience, and the third is the fact. So you have to kind of do that yourself a little bit as well, in terms of make that decision if you are comfortable with that interpretation, and you have hit that interpretation yourself. So that's the way I interpret it. But don't, if that's not the case, if that's what I feel comfortable with, don't blame me if that's the case. If that's not the case, because it's my interpretation of it. I feel comfortable saying that. So you have to be comfortable with your own interpretation of it, for sure. Any other questions? Wow, do you know, I genuinely intended to come on for like on TikTok for like, I would have blown TikTok's mind, I think. But I think people are used to longer lives on TikTok now, aren't they? Anyway, but you know, I'm used to hour, 2 hour, 3 hour lives. So from my point of view, but I genuinely thought I'll come on and just saw Jake's comment, I won't be knocking on your door when I get shut down. Do you know what? That really made me laugh, because I said that last week in the Hive on someone about we were talking about trolls and, you know, people that keyboard warriors that say things and blah blah blah. I'm a bit of the opposite of a keyboard warrior, as in I don't say anything online that, you know, I like literally that could be misinterpreted, because when you meet me in person, I'm not a different person, but you will know, you know, I'm very clear in that there's no, my face doesn't hide anything essentially. And we were laughing about it because I was saying, like, if you say it, trolling gives people the opportunities to say things that they would never say in person. I'm not that. I'm like the opposite of that. And if you say something to me and it's not true, or it's not, you know, be prepared. I will knock on your door. I won't just, you know, sort of like start an online. I will literally knock on your door and be like, what the hell? Because I was talking about a guy that on one of the arbitrage groups that it was a misinterpretation, and he was giving it the big one on Messenger, blah blah blah, and this, that, and I just ring him up. I'm like, what have you got to say? Anyway, so yeah, there we go. It's one of those weird conversations, but yes, don't worry. If you did knock on the door, I would totally invite you in, and we would chat about it, and we would solve it. There's no doubt about it at all. Thanks, Lewis. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we do this every week. We haven't been doing it. I haven't been doing it in December, purely because of my daughter's situation. My daughter was diagnosed with leukemia in the summer, and her treatment's been super intensive. And in December, and no, she's got horrendous schedule of treatment. So I won't be here next week. She's back in hospital for treatment then. So it just made sense just to put it all kind of a bit on the hiatus. But you know, we do this every week in the Hive. You know, as well as all the other training and everything. And of course, we've got the new bundle content that is going to be coming. Because what I will say, with the new direction in which the bundles are going with, half-assing it ain't going to work. It's not going to cut it anymore. You need to know what you're doing from a policy point of view, but an aesthetic point of view, but also from the customer point of view as well. So Amazon is going to be very strict about the type of new listings that are going to get through, you know, once this bundle policy hits. So I always say there was such a way that you could do it before that you could get away with it. Whereas, you know, moving forward, you are going to have to know what a proper listing, you know, works out on Amazon, because I think this is all the stuff that they're clearing up on the catalog. And I do think it will get to a point, if you don't hit certain boxes, they will just get rid of it. You know, I think that's what we're moving into in 2025 for sure. Thank you, Daniel. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a very tough time, and I have shared a lot of the journey of Indiana, and she is in remission now. So it's something that has been very challenging for us. And like I said, you know, I've been through my own personal journey the last 6 months. It's like the bundle policy and Indiana have sort of like gone in tandem with each other. and they've both come out and yeah, childhood cancer, and comparing it to the Amazon bundle policy, there is no comparison, of course, when it comes down to it. But there's this fear of unknown, and like I said, from a foundational point of view, being in a reactive versus a proactive, I do not do well. Anyone that knows me personally or knows me through my training, I don't like being in reactive space, because it's a position of defense, and I don't like being vulnerable, and I don't like being in that position of defense. I like to be in offensive position, and being ahead of the competition, but we've just simply not been able to do that personally and through work. But I really do feel, like I said, the tide is turning, and we are, all the pieces are coming together. And didn't I say this at the start, guys, when this all came out and everyone was saying this and that and speculating? I said it's going to take 6 months. We are not going to know fully what impact this is going to have for 6 months. And that's just the start of it. You know, the Amazon catalog clean, that's going to take 12 months. So I reckon this time next year, we will probably be sat here, because I'm not going anywhere. We'll probably be sat here and we'll be saying, wow, what a crazy 18 months that's been. Now we know where we are. We now know where we are fully. When Amazon brought in the brand name policy, which was the big start of these changes 3 or 4 years ago, it took us almost a year to understand those changes and to know and how to navigate them. So Amazon don't make it easy. And that's why you have to be part of the right communities. It's as simple as that, or face the wrath of Amazon. There's no doubt about it, for sure. Thanks, Lewis. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Yes, congratulations. I saw on Facebook that you have left your full-time job and you have decided to be a full-time, we call ourselves bedroom bandits in here. So if you know, you know. So welcome aboard. It's great to have you guys here as well. And yeah, always be part of the community. We like to think, you know, we offer as much support as we possibly can for anyone that wants to embark on this sort of crazy journey moving forward. Thank you, Russ. I really appreciate it. It's I know it does make you appreciate, for sure. I always say, hug your little ones a little bit tighter, hold them a little bit closer, and you know, it's a tough spot. There's no doubt about it. And you know, I've expanded on it already in terms of the impact it's had on our lives and our family and everything like that. And every day is a challenge. There's no doubt about it. So I literally am so grateful to be where we are now. So practicing that gratitude, it's in our situation, you can't be in the negative, in my opinion, because it just suck you down and it'll keep you there at the bottom. So it's yeah, we have to live every day, one day at a time, and focus on the good and definitely not the negative. Oh, well, by proxy then, Lewis, because I mentored Luke. So then I'll take a little bit. No, I'm only joking. I was going to say take a little bit of credit from that. But yeah, no, I love Luke. I work really closely with him. And it's amazing to see it all kind of spread out, because this is something we've been doing for years, and obviously people you teach end up teaching it to other people, and it's got out, from that point of view. So, but it's always good to know that it comes from like a good source. So, and I know Luke obviously because I trained him, so I know it comes from a good source, and that's the thing that is the most important thing, and what is going to be important moving forward. There's no doubt about it, for sure. Yes, not next week, but we will pop up week before Christmas, which I think is the 17th. Yeah, 17th. So we'll do one more session for Beyond the Buy Box, and then we'll be on hiatus for Christmas, because you guys have got better things to do over Christmas than sit here and watch me talk about Amazon. So we always say we have 2 or 3 weeks hiatus over that period of time. Then we will be back. You'll see me popping up on TikTok live, if they can ever confirm how young I am, obviously. And another day, and we'll try and go live another day. But yeah, we do it here live in the group pretty much every Tuesday, like I said. But I always let you know in advance if we're not, and either sometimes it's with Johnny, sometimes it's me on my own, sometimes I've got a guest. We talk about various different things for sure. So, oh no, Lewis, honestly, I was only joking, for sure. Oh, for sure, but that's kind of you to say, thank you. But yeah, honestly, Luke is what you say on the tin. Quit your 9 to 5. It's as simple as that. So enjoy it, but make sure you don't overrun yourself. I think that's the most important thing. When people do quit their 9 to 5, it's so tempting to literally quit your 9 to 5 and then quit your business as well, whereas you've got to work harder. You've got to work even harder in your business than you do in that 9 to 5. That's the only benefit of the 9 to 5. You get to leave it at the door. Well, it depends what you're doing, obviously, as well. So, but we are here to support you. So feel free to use the community for whatever you need. And we should always do our best to support everyone. So, thank you, Emma. I really appreciate it. I'm like, what is it? Like a swan or a duck? I can't remember what it is. On the top of the water, it looks calm and serene and everything like that. But my legs under the water, they are going 90 to dozen. I tell you, they are flapping like crazy. So it's it's one of those things. I couldn't not live in chaos. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I didn't want for, I never wished for. I do not want anything that's happened to us from a family point of view. But we were talking about it the other day, and I was talking about, what would happen if you won the lottery or something like that. I think, you'd probably take a couple of months off. And I said to Matt, yeah, but we couldn't stop. And I saw a TikTok about somebody talking about retirement. Like a young guy talking about that he's doing the Amazon to retire. Why would you want to retire? Retirement's boring. My granddad retired and he was dead in 3 months. It's like, I'd never want to retire. I want to keep going, for as long as possible, always have something. And we've got new exciting opportunities we're going to be talking about next year as well. But one thing we know for sure, when it comes to Amazon, we certainly don't rely on just Amazon anymore. That time is not now. You can previously do that, but you can't do it now. And it will come back again. Like I said, the risk factor changes on Amazon, ebbs and flows. There are times when it's more risky, when it's not. So there may come a time when we say, right, laser focus on Amazon, do this, do that. No, we're going to diversify, and we are going to ensure that anything we build is not only safe for Amazon, that we can diversify it to other platforms should we need to. Yeah, 100%, Lewis. God, life's boring to just sit and do nothing, and even, rich people with, doing nothing, you get bored of the same people, because believe you me, when you've got enough money to retire and do nothing, you're a minority. So you stop identifying with people and you stop moving in the same circles. And I've always been one of these people. This is a big debate. Do you get rid of your friends the more successful you get? And I think it depends on what type of person you are. Personally, I can walk into a room, I can be a comedian, I can change the conversation depending on who I'm talking to, and I'll adapt it generally to the person that I'm talking to. Whereas, I know people incredibly successful and they only want to talk to other successful people. For me, success is measured in different ways. I see someone with a thriving family, wonderful kids, a lovely life. I see them as some of the most successful people in the world. It depends on what you measure success as. It's as simple as that. That's the way that I see it. But yeah, I could never retire. I drive Matt mental. I absolutely would. And we'd be that couple that's been married for like 50 years. And the second we're left alone together, just us with nothing to do, we'd be like, right, should we get a divorce then? Something like that. Sorry, Matt, if you're watching. We've always got to have something to do. It's boring. Life's boring otherwise. Right. Okay. So I've talked for longer than I initially thought I was going to. So, but hasn't it, it's been good. Yeah, absolutely, Emma. It's, you can learn. I'm that for me is key. I do not believe that there is no person at any point in life where you can't learn. We've all had and lived different experiences, and to discount that based on what is in somebody's bank balance or what it perceives to be. And everything's fake now. I saw someone share a meme earlier where it says the grass is only greener on the other side because it's fake. So you never really know. And the only way you do that is by finding out and talking to people and getting to know people and being in their company. So, for me, it's just never made sense. For sure. Mark says, I know exactly. That's why there were so many divorces in COVID, right? It's because everyone literally, half of my friends, none of them watch this, that's fine, I can say it. Half of my friends got divorced during COVID because I think, it was like literally, oh, right. So now we're stuck together. It was the true test, I think, of people's marriages for sure. And I say it lightly. I say it with light humor as well, guys. So like I said, just hopefully Matt didn't Matt didn't hear any of that. He would have done, and he'll tell me later. So thanks, guys. I really, really appreciate you. Sorry about the change of venue at the last minute. I didn't realize that I couldn't go live on TikTok, so I shall try and go live over the next couple of days anyway as well. I've sent my driver's license off. I've sent my proof of how young I am to TikTok, so fingers crossed I'll go live, and I'll do another update where we go into a bit more detail because there's still other stuff to talk about anyway as well. So I won't see you guys next week. We'll be back here in 2 weeks' time. So if it's your first time, hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us. And any other questions? Yeah, definitely socials scheduled for 2025. Yes, we do need to do that for sure. I think with all the stuff and everything up in the air, we will do that for sure. Helium 10 every day of the week. Yeah. And I will say this actually because but you got to use what works for you. It's as simple as that. It's like the BuyBot Pro versus SaaS debate. It's kind of, I really do think it gets to a point where softwares are similar and it comes down to a personal preference. Like for me, I'll give you an example of how much I prefer Helium 10 over Jungle Scout. I have a lifetime free access to Jungle Scout. Because not many people know this. This is how long I've been around. They only used to offer you pay a one-off fee, and you got it for life. So I had that. So I get it life. I get it for life for free, and I still use Helium 10, which I pay for. So that's how much I prefer Helium 10 over Jungle Scout. So for me personally, and Helium 10 have just done a really good offer. You might be able to get it now. Because but they're pretty hot on removing the discounts, but they've just recently had a 40% off for 12 months, which is the best discount I've seen. So if you were going to give it a go, that's when it was. But I'm going to do some more on TikTok to do with why I prefer Helium 10 over Jungle Scout. And I really do think a big percentage of it comes down to personal preference. I quite like quite basic configurations and things like that. I don't like anything too detailed, whereas for me, it might even come down to something I like preferring the colors. That's the difference of preference it can make. But I must admit, I haven't used Jungle Scout probably in a couple of years, so maybe I need to revisit that and see if it is still the case. But for me, Helium 10 for sure. I prefer Helium 10 for everything except sourcing. I find the products on Helium 10 are not anywhere near as good. Good insight for sure. So maybe we can do a comparison at some point. But like I said, you got to go with what works for you. Personal preference and measured results as well. I think that's the way to look at it for sure. Right, so if you are a Hive member, I will see you at 7 o'clock tonight. Looking forward to that one, which we're going to further expand on the bundle stuff. And also we're going to be looking at seasonal demand now that we are right in the thick of it. So I will see you guys later at 7 o'clock if you're a Hive member. If not, I will see you 2 weeks today. Or you might see me popping up in my full 43-year-old glory on TikTok between now and then. So I will see you later, guys. Take care, everyone.